Well, the song has sentimental value for me because it's in 1995 that I met the movement. So we grew up with this song and the songs of the Gen Fest 95. So among the most eventful years for us here of the Focolare in India have been, of course, the two visits of Chiara in India in 2001 and in 2003. Much can be said about these visits, especially when you look at them 20 years down the line. But here we can share only some selective details to evidence the enormous significance of these two visits. So in October 2000, at the meeting of the delegates in Rome, to the surprise of many, and with just a few months' notice, Chiara announced her intention to visit India in early January 2001. She expressed her desire to meet with Hindu friends. Now, although the movement was in India for about 20 years, it had spread mainly within the Catholic world. So contacts with Hindus were relatively limited. But the news of Chiara's upcoming visits stirred up contacts. For example, the Focolare in India had built cordial relationship with Dr. Aram, member of the Rajya Sabha and founder of Shanti Ashram in Coimbatore. He had known the Focolare through his friendship with Natalia, one of Chiara's first companions. Both were part of the World Conference of Religions for Peace, today known as Religions for Peace. Dr. Aram's only encounter with Chiara was at a meeting at the Vatican in 1996. He was so impressed with her work of peace and unity among religions that he expressed to his wife and to his daughter Vinu and other Gandhian collaborators of his desire to honor Chiara if ever she had to come to India. In 1997, however, Dr. Aram passed away. Now, when his family knew of Chiara's intention to come to India, they immediately seized the occasion to invite Chiara to Coimbatore, and Chiara accepted. So Chiara's meeting with Hindus was concretized, as officially she was invited to India by Hindu friends to receive the prestigious Defender of Peace Award by the Gandhian-inspired movements of Shanti Ashram and Sarvodaya.
Another providential contact received was that of Dr. Kala Acharya, a scholar and director of the Somaya Bharatiya Sanskrit Pritam. That's at Vidya Vihar, Somaya University, Mumbai. Dr. Acharya was already involved in the Hindu-Christian program with the Pontifical Council of Interreligious Dialogue. She was extremely happy to know about Chiara and accepted to travel to Coimbatore to meet her during the award function. The meeting with Chiara was so impactful that Dr. Kala invited her to the Somaya campus to meet its director, Dr. S.K. Somaya, and to share her message with the faculty and students. This was certainly not part of Chiara's planning in her itinerary. In just a span of 4 days, an event was organized at the Somaya University campus, where Chiara was warmly welcomed by over 600 participants who awaited her talk on the spirituality of universal brotherhood. Of course, there were other invitations too. She addressed the Conference of Bishops, Catholic Bishops of India in Kolkata on the topic, the role of the laity in the church today. The meeting with the missionary of charity at their mother house, as Chiara shared a special friendship with Mother Teresa when Mother Teresa met her in Rome. Then the meeting with the priests of the Diocese of Mumbai and Vasai, and of course the meeting with her family here We were about 900 participants from different parts of India and Nepal too. Chiara's first trip lasted from 29 December 2000 to 14 January 2001. We have found a short clip with some photos of this trip where you see Chiara being welcomed to Mumbai at midnight by some with our lantern trimmed. A meeting with Cardinal Ivan Dias and Cardinal Simon Pimenta, who had welcomed the Focolare in the 80s. Then at Coimbatore, Somaya, Kolkata, and again in Mumbai. But before that, we want to present to you just two thoughts from her diary, to understand her first impact in India and also the attitude in which she looked at our beautiful country.
So this first thought is taken from her diary, dated 30th of December 2000. So it's practically the next day. And she writes, "It's strange. In Rocca di Papa, that's Rome, when I look at the map of India, it always seems to me very, very far away. Today, it's as though we walked through a door of one room into another, just like that. I believe it depends on the fact that if the movement is one, it is truly one. It also depends on the love of our people here who have overwhelmed us with gifts. How much love, how much preparation has been put into this visit." Another thought is dated 2nd of January 2001. And this is very profound. She writes, "The more we enter into contact with India, and we have been here just for a few days, the more it reveals itself to us as a world which is immense, with a concentration of realities and its own unique hallmark, not easy for Westerners to decipher. A world which presents a picture of unity in all the richness of its diversity. We feel that before us lies a jewel box full of spiritual treasures, of attraction towards mysticism, encompassing the whole of human nature, a mysticism which is certainly not extraneous to the work of God. And this treasure chest can be opened by those who approach it with respect, with love, and above all, with the conviction that God has so much to tell us through this ancient culture." We now see this short clip.
And she had not spoken from her head, but spoken from her heart. Ex abundantia cordis, as they say. So it was so simple and so straightforward and full of substance. It was Jesus she gave to the bishops.
Beautiful, because all the photos speak of relationships, all the photos speak of Chiara's deep listening. And that was what everyone was struck by. She built relationships by listening to people. And in fact, after her first visit and before the second visit, that's in 2003, there was so much that took place in the Hindu-Christian dialogue, because she set something in motion, and it was something that really started for us. First of first of all, it brought the birth of the Hindu-Christian Symposium. So Dr. Kala, who you've seen from Somaya College, sensing an intellectual and cultural preparedness in the movement, proposed a Hindu-Christian symposium, and Chiara accepted it. It was the first experience of the Focolare movement to organize a symposium. It was between the Abba school members and Hindu scholars from Mumbai, Coimbatore, whom Chiara had met. The purpose was to promote deeper theological and academic exchange in the same spirit of fraternity and love. This first symposium took place in 2002 at the Focolare Center in Rome on the topic Bhakti, way of love towards God and our neighbors in the Hindu tradition and in the Christian experience of the spirituality of communion. There was such a dense and supernatural atmosphere at the symposium that at the request of one of the Hindu scholars present, Chiara also spoke to them of her mystical experiences of Paradise 49, something which till then was reserved only to the closest members of the movement. Hindu-Christian symposia still continue, and we've had more than 8 international ones held so far. There was another development in the Swadhyaya family, right, Brian?
Yes. So in 2002, at SEC Day of Prayer for Peace, convocated by Pope John Paul II, sharing the stage with him were two women representatives from different religions. Chiara Lobik was first, and then Didi Atavale from India, who represented a widespread Swadhyaya family founded by her uncle, Pandurang Atavale, popularly known as Dadaji, a Hindu social reformist, winning the Templeton Prize and the Padma Vibhushan in India. Struck by Chiara's discourse and her strong similarities with the ideal of the Swadhyaya family, Didi asks for a meeting with Chiara in SEC. Seeing that Chiara planned to return to India the next year, that was the second time, Didi invited her to address her members.
So Chiara's second trip to India was also a founding moment. From addressing the Archdiocese rally of ecclesial movements and associations in Mumbai to furthering the journey of dialogue in Coimbatore, Mumbai, and also Delhi. However, we want to give you a glimpse of the encounter with the Swadhyaya family, where Chiara was invited to speak to 40,000 young people at a sports arena in Thane, here in Maharashtra, on January 16th, 2003. Now, we have a first-hand narrative from Savi, who was the official Hindi-Italian translator for the event. Savi, are you here?
Yes, Dhoni, I'm there.
So, hi, Savi.
Hi.
Can you tell us what this program was like exactly? What was it about?
Thanks so much, Dhoni, for giving me this opportunity to actually relive this incredible experience. It was a 2-day national sports event which was organized by the Swadhyaya movement, at which about 40,000 youth, young people from different villages and cities in India participated. And it felt like a finale of a mini Olympics with dances, songs, drill. And Chiara was invited to be part of this annual inaugural function, and to address the young people. Her speech, of course, was in Italian, and I had to translate in Hindi. The night before, I learned that Chiara was unwell and that her companion, Natalia, would have replaced her. I was really sad. But then I thought, it's my chance to love Jesus forsaken and to continue to be Chiara for everyone whom I would meet. It was beautiful to see how Natalia was welcomed by Didi and Dadaji, as if they were welcoming Chiara. Natalia too, humble as she was such an expression of love that she didn't exist as Natalia. She was Chiara. It was such a lesson of unity for me. In her talk, Didi shared her experience with Chiara at Assisi and that she missed Chiara's presence there. But in all that she said, I felt that Didi's aim of inviting Chiara to this big national event was to bring the light and love of Chiara to each and every youth of her movement, to encourage them to work towards a united world. Then it was time for Natalia to share her experience, share Chiara's message, and I was translating from Italian to Hindi. I experienced a very strong moment of God. The 40,000 youth in front of us were like sponge, absorbing each and every word that was spoken to them. Chiara's message was on Jesus and the experience of God's love, and in turn, returning this love by loving every neighbor with acts of love. I think this resonated with the Swadhyaya family, as they also speak of expressing love with actions. I could not believe how I, as a Christian in India, was sharing Chiara's experience of God's love to such a huge crowd of Hindu audience. I could feel such positive vibes around us that I can only say, indeed, it was a moment of God.
Thank you, Savi, for what you shared.
Thanks, Tony.
In fact, the first, maybe some of you know, some of you may not know, the first inspiration for the Run for Unity that Chiara had at its roots this sports event. The relationship with Didi still continues. In fact, in 2016, when Maria Voce, Emmaus, and Jesus were here in India, Didi had invited them to address a huge rally of the Swadhyaya families at Kolhapur. And now we move on to another part. Over to you, Brian.
Dhoni, just before going to the closing of the pontificate of John Paul II, a sheer coincidence, one of our accountants, I mean, perhaps the accountant, in-house accountant of the Focolare Society, I just came to know yesterday that he is a part of this Swadhyaya movement.
Oh, really?
I've known him for the past 15 years. I couldn't guess his behavior, his honesty. And yesterday he told me that he is part of this and how he goes to Gujarat. He's from Gujarat. So how we work with the fishermen in Gujarat. Oh, I was so delighted. That's why I cannot tell you anything more because it's just a few moments before leaving for Mahim. But I think so. It's really what struck me is that 15 years I've seen this nice man, and now I know why he's a nice man. And thanks to Dadaji. So now we come to the closing of the pontificate of John Paul II. All of you know, I think it's the second longest pope as far as the years are concerned, so 25 years, you know. Then what we are going to see in this nice clip is this special love which he had for Chiara and the Focolare movement. Definitely he had it for the whole church. But we just would like to show you what this special love he had. No? This video consists of various moments of him meeting Chiara and the events of the movement. Examples, now I'm not going to tell you all the moments when he came to meet us or we met him. First was the Family Fest in 1981, then a visit to our center in August 1984, then a visit to our Mariapolis center in December 1986, and many others which you will see in this clip. You will really enjoy this clip.
Venticinque anni fa ho sperimentato in modo particolare la divina misericordia. Cristo ha detto anche a me, come un tempo a Pietro, mi ami più di costoro? Signore, tu sei tutto. Tu sai che ti amo.
Holy Father has received thanks for these extraordinary 25 years of pontificate, not only from the Catholic Church, but also from other Christian churches, from leaders of the major religions, from heads of state, and from governments. We too are very grateful to this Pope, who, from the beginning of his pontificate, has encouraged the movements and new communities to bring the gifts they have received into the heart of the Church. And after Pentecost 1998, to be in unity with one another. Writing in the daily paper Avvenire on October the 16th, Chiara said, "A wave of communion has invested both the old charisms and the traditional lay associations like Catholic Action. It's a wave which also includes movements from other churches and ecclesial communities." We are particularly grateful because he had already recognized the charism of the movement when he was still the Archbishop of Krakow.
La vostra spiritualità è aperta, positiva, ottimistica, serena, conquistatrice. Avete conquistato anche il Papa. Ho detto che auguro a voi di essere la Chiesa, fra l'altro. Adesso voglio dire che auguro alla Chiesa di essere voi.
Molte volte quando sono triste, quando mi trovo nella tristezza, mi viene in mente Focolarini e ritrovo una consolazione, una grande consolazione, una grande consolazione.
È bene che avete trovato quella strada, quella vocazione all'amore. È bene. Questa è la scintilla ispiratrice di tutto quello che si fa sul nome Focolari, di tutto quello che voi siete. C'erano nella storia della Chiesa tanti radicalismi dell'amore. C'è un vostro radicalismo dell'amore, un vostro, di Chiara, dei Focolarini. L'amore apre la strada. Io vi auguro che questa strada sia sempre più aperta per la Chiesa. Grazie a voi.
Mi piace molto questa vostra iniziativa per entrare nella parrocchia, per animare la parrocchia con lo spirito dei focolari. La parrocchia deve diventare focolare. Focolare.
Facciamo tutti i nostri auguri pasquali alla Madre di Cristo risorto, alla Madre nostra, Maria, Maria dei Focolarini, dei Focolari, Maria di tutta la Chiesa, Maria di tutta l'umanità.
Questa casa, questa aula, la vedo molto cambiata, vuol dire molto rinnovata, molto più elegante e certamente più utilizzata di prima. Allora vi auguro un buon anno in questa casa di Maria e io approfitto anche della vostra dispersione, non solamente delle vostre presenze a Roma, della vostra dispersione nel mondo. Io mi porta frutti.
desidero incoraggiare il vostro lavoro a carica di fervore che intende trasmettere a tutti i componenti dei focolari la chiarezza dell'ideale cristiano che intendete raggiungere nelle vostre coscienze. Vi dirò che mi è venuto in mente, ecco, chiarezza suona molto vicina a Chiara. Grazie.
In questa missione tutti hanno il suo compito e io penso che voi giovani, specialmente Gen 3, avete questa missione di nuovo per la vostra generazione, per il futuro. Questo millennio futuro avrà bisogno ancora di più di questa forza di amore che è tanto propria alla comunità dei focolarini, no? La forza dell'amore.
La missione della Chiesa si realizza attraverso le famiglie e voi, carissimi focolarini, lo avete molto bene indovinato, grazie al genio femminile di Chiara e di voi tutti. Salutate Chiara, prego per lei ogni giorno.
Poi non posso ancora non ricordare una cosa, che fra gli organizzatori, se si vede come cantano, si vede subito che sono Gen. Allora sono Gen di Chiara, e Chiara è nata qui, viene da Trento. Chiara tridentina. Possiamo scrivere un trattato dal Concilio Tridentino a Chiara tridentina. Sarebbe interessante.
Saluto Chiara. Vi saluto tutti con grande affetto. Seminaristi e focolarini, una bella combinazione. Insieme a Castel Gandolfo, ancora meglio.
Abbiamo fatto un patto dell'amore scambievole.
Ah, bello.
La diocesi dell'uno sia la diocesi dell'altro. La grazia dell'uno.
Così ogni diocesi avrà più vescovi.
Sì, è così.
From the Pope's letter to Chiara. To Miss Chiara Lubick, President of the Work of Mary, Focolare Movement. I would like to entrust the prayer of the Holy Rosary to the Focolarini. Offer your contribution so that these months may become an occasion for interior renewal for every Christian community. What seemed to be impossible for canon lawyers has been made possible by this Pope, wrote Chiara Lubick to the Answer press agency. Members of other churches, of other religions, as well as those who do not have a religious faith, are inserted into this Roman Catholic movement. Bishops have a spiritual bond with it, and at its head there will always be a woman, even though it involves bishops, priests, and members of religious orders. This opens up new perspectives on the role of women and the openness of the Church. Thank you, Holy Father.
at the last years of Chiara. For Chiara, as for Mother Teresa of Calcutta and other persons of great spiritual depth, there is a hidden side of their life, a mysterious aspect, but of considerable importance. These have been called the dark nights of the soul in the mystical language of St. John of the Cross. Chiara said that her life was marked by luminous peaks of love and the dark depths of pain. The climax for her was when she experienced the night of God towards the last years of her life, from 2004 to 2008. It seemed to her that God had disappeared, like the sun disappearing over the horizon and no longer seen. Chiara did not feel God anymore. She once confided to Eli, "I feel like I've lost the charism, that I'm just Sylvia, not Chiara anymore." It was a personal night, and she continued to embrace Jesus on the cross, to guide the movement, and she also began to write about the experience that she was going through. There was a lot of life in the movement, as we've seen so far. And at the root was her faithful love for Jesus forsaken amid pain and darkness. In her last public message, she concluded with this phrase from a saint: "If we walk forward in these ways, we can say, my night has no darkness, and all things are full of light to me." At the beginning of February 2008, Chiara was admitted to the Gemelli Hospital in Rome. During her stay, she received a visit from the Ecumenical Patriarch of Constantinople, Bartholomew I, and a letter from Pope Benedict XVI. On March 13, 2008, since nothing more could be done for her medically, she desired to return home, her home in Rocca di Papa. That same day after Holy Mass, she met her first companions and her close collaborators. Towards evening, her health deteriorated. And here something wonderful and moving took place. After her first companions, hundreds of people lined up outside her home, and all were able to enter one by one into her room, to see her, to just say a word, a thank you, to kiss her hand. Chiara really belonged to everyone till the last hour. Chiara left for heaven peacefully on the morning of 14th of March 2008. The funeral celebration on March 18th at the Basilica of St. Paul outside the walls was with thousands of people. In some place it says between 30 to 40,000. While others followed it on the Rai Italian national television and other broadcasting places live, even in other countries. In his letter, read by the Secretary of State, Pope Benedict XVI says, among other things, "The continuous link with my venerable predecessors, from the servant of God, Pius XII, to Blessed John XXIII, and the servants of God, Paul VI, John Paul I, and John Paul II, was concrete testimony that the thought of the Pope was for her a sure guide. Moreover, looking at the initiatives she accomplished, one could even affirm that she had almost prophetic capacity to perceive and anticipate it." In 2015, the cause for her beatification and canonization was opened. And in 2019, in November, the cause has been transferred to the Congregation of the Cause of Saints at the Vatican. As we conclude the centenary celebrations, we must admit that Chiara Lubich is someone yet to be fully discovered. Chiara and her charism lives on. It lives in those who welcome it and make it their own. We are Chiara now, and we have to continue to give witness singularly and collectively to the testament of Jesus, that all may be one. Chiara has passed on the baton, and we can continue to let this charism of unity unfold itself as a gift for the church and to humanity. How do we do that? Let's hear from Chiara herself.
This charism, I often talk about love, but really it was a charism of light. It made me see. In an important moment at the very beginning, it was the feast of Christ the King. A reading during Mass said, "Ask of me and I will make the nations your heritage." I told my companions that we would reach the whole world, and now we have. We prayed together then and there to become instruments to carry the spirit of love and light throughout the world. It was as if a light entered my thoughts. It had something of my thoughts and something from above. However, its touch was very gentle. God doesn't crush you. Grace elevates our nature. It doesn't destroy it. So all my earlier formation was useful because grace elevates our humanity. I wasn't frightened at all, no. Sometimes people say, "What responsibility on your shoulders?" I don't feel any responsibility. He is responsible. It's still like that. It is all light. God guides me. I'm guided by this charism, which is a gift of the Holy Spirit. I see. I communicate it and then it comes about. But it's not my doing, it's God using me. He chooses. We had to fulfill the prayer of Jesus. May they all be one. May they all be one family. And it's happening. When I am in the next life, others will carry everything ahead. If I were asked to leave a last will and testament, I would leave Jesus in the midst to everyone. Love one another as Jesus has loved us. Be ready to die for one another. Be a family. That's what I'd say. That says it all.